Welcome to 7 Days Report, your reliable source of information from all major news from around the world. I'm your host, Vasilios Nikolaos Vitsilogiannis, and I'm happy to have you here with us this evening. Every weekend at 12 p.m. and 9 p.m., we bring you the latest headlines, in-depth analysis, and insightful commentary on the stories that matter most. Whether you're tuning in for a recap of the week or looking for a deeper understanding of global events, we've got you covered. Let's start with our first news. A state of emergency has been declared in both South and North Carolina as over 175 wildfires continue to rage across the region, fueled by dry conditions and strong winds. The fires have prompted evacuations, with residents forced to flee their homes in several areas. In South Carolina, Governor Henry McMaster issued a state of emergency on Sunday to bolster wildfire response efforts and ensure adequate resources for firefighters. The state has seen more than 175 fires, affecting approximately 4,200 acres across counties such as Horry, Spartanburg, Oconee, Union, and Pickens. A significant blaze near Carolina Forest, just west of Myrtle Beach, expanded to over 1,600 acres and was 30% contained by Sunday evening. Despite the fire's intensity, no injuries or structural losses have been reported. In North Carolina, a brush fire in the Blue Ridge Mountains, about 40 miles south of Asheville, burned between 400 and 500 acres, with no containment reported. Firefighters are battling multiple wildfires across 4 national forests, with the largest in Uwharrie National Forest. The National Weather Service issued red flag warnings due to the heightened risk of wildfires, citing dry conditions and gusty winds. The situation is exacerbated by low rainfall in the region, particularly in South Carolina, where Myrtle Beach has seen significantly less rain than usual since January. Authorities have implemented a statewide burning ban in South Carolina, warning that starting a fire outdoors could result in criminal charges. China has vowed to retaliate against the United States with all necessary measures following President Donald Trump's announcement of additional tariffs on Chinese imports. The latest escalation comes as Trump doubled the tariff on all Chinese imports to 20%, building on previous tariffs that had already raised duties to 10% earlier this month. In response, China's Ministry of Commerce expressed strong opposition, accusing the U.S. of shifting the blame and shirking responsibility regarding the opioid crisis, which Trump cited as a justification for the tariffs. China has maintained that its drug laws are among the strictest globally and emphasized its cooperation with the U.S. on fentanyl enforcement. China previously imposed retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods, including a 15% duty on coal and liquefied natural gas and a 10% duty on crude oil and large engine vehicles. The country also filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization, WTO, against the U.S. tariffs. A spokesperson for China's Ministry of Commerce warned that if the U.S. continues with unilateral actions, China will implement countermeasures to protect its interests. This stance reflects China's determination to defend its economic position amidst rising tensions with the U.S. As trade relations continue to deteriorate, both nations face significant economic challenges and potential global market instability. President Donald Trump marked 6 weeks into his second term with the longest joint address to Congress in modern history, lasting nearly 1 hour and 40 minutes. The speech was characterized by a highly partisan tone, with Trump celebrating his administration's swift actions and Democrats expressing strong dissent. Trump boasted about achieving more in 43 days than many administrations accomplish in 4 or 8 years, highlighting significant policy shifts in domestic and international affairs. He emphasized the revival of American momentum and confidence, asserting that the country is on the right path. However, his address was met with disruptions from Democrats, including Representative Al Green from Texas, who was removed from the chamber after heckling the president. Trump also outlined his economic strategies, including broad tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico, and China, which have sparked market concerns. Additionally, he announced plans to establish a Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, aimed at reducing wasteful spending. Despite the contentious atmosphere, Trump concluded by calling for unity and emphasizing the importance of domestic production and tax cuts. The address underscored the deep divisions within Congress, with Democrats protesting through silent gestures and attire, while Republicans stood in support of the president's policies. As Trump's administration continues to reshape U.S. policies, the speech set the stage for ongoing political tensions in the coming months. In a televised address, French President Emmanuel Macron labeled Russia as a significant threat to both France and Europe, emphasizing the need for European nations to bolster their military capabilities in response to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Macron highlighted Russia's aggressive actions, including cyber attacks and election manipulation, and expressed concerns about the reliability of U.S. support in the face of these threats. He proposed discussing the extension of France's nuclear deterrent to protect European allies, a move seen as a strategic response to Russia's military expansion. Macron's speech was met with strong criticism from Russia. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov described the address as extremely confrontational, suggesting that France is more interested in prolonging the conflict in Ukraine rather than seeking peace. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov also condemned Macron's remarks, likening them to a threat against Russia and contrasting them unfavorably with the more direct intentions of historical figures like Napoleon and Hitler. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev mocked Macron's warning, stating that the French leader poses no real threat and will be forgotten once he leaves office. Russia has consistently rejected proposals for deploying peacekeeping forces from NATO nations to Ukraine, viewing such moves as an unacceptable NATO presence in the region. The exchange highlights the escalating tensions between Russia and European nations over Ukraine. As Europe navigates its security landscape, Macron's call for rearmament and nuclear deterrence underscores the continent's growing unease about its reliance on U.S. support and the need for greater autonomy in defense matters. The situation remains volatile, with both sides entrenched in their positions, leaving little room for diplomatic resolution in the near future. Concerns are escalating in the Gaza Strip as Israel's blockade on aid deliveries enters its sixth day, exacerbating a dire humanitarian crisis. The blockade, imposed on March 2nd, follows Hamas's refusal to extend the first phase of a ceasefire agreement that had been in place since January 19, 2025. This move has halted the entry of essential goods, including food and medicine, into the war-torn territory. The ceasefire, brokered by the U.S., Egypt, and Qatar, aimed to facilitate the release of hostages and prisoners in exchange for humanitarian aid and a phased Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. However, Israel's decision to block aid has been widely condemned by international mediators and humanitarian organizations who warn that it could collapse the fragile peace and plunge Gaza into renewed violence and deeper humanitarian catastrophe. Gaza's population, heavily reliant on external aid due to the destruction of its economic infrastructure, is facing severe shortages of basic necessities. Amjad al-Shawa, director of the Palestinian NGO network in Gaza, emphasized that the blockade will further starve the population and strip civilians of their basic needs to survive. International pressure is mounting, with the Trump administration engaging in direct talks with Hamas to resolve the standoff. President Trump has issued a last warning to Hamas to release the remaining hostages, while Hamas accuses Trump's threats of emboldening Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to back out of the ceasefire deal. As tensions escalate, fears of renewed conflict and worsening humanitarian conditions continue to grow. The international community is urging both sides to return to negotiations and allow aid to reach those in desperate need. The situation remains volatile, with the fate of Gaza hanging in the balance. As we wrap up another edition of the 7 Days Report, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks for joining me this evening. We've covered a wide array of significant global events, and I hope you found our news insightful and engaging. Remember, you can catch us every weekend at 12 p.m. and 9 p.m. for your weekly major news from around the world. Stay tuned for our next meeting, where we'll dive deeper into the stories shaping our world. Until then, take care and keep informed. This is Vasilios Nikolaos Vitzilogiannis signing off. Goodbye.